Hoy presentamos, hagan su aportación en CGK o moriré de hambre. Date prisa, Goku.
Date prisa, Goku. ¿Cómo están, chicos? ¿Todo bien? ¿Todo legal? Sí, escenografía distinta, pero igualmente al aire. Así que espero que lo estén pasando bien en sus casas. Yo aquí estoy en un lugar sin revelar. Y vamos a estar viendo un especial de cómo se hizo. Cómo se hizo, y después vamos a estar probando un juego nuevo que salió que se llama Yuiki, pero tenía High algo era. Puta madre, que se me olvida. Me da rabia cuando se me olvidan los nombres de algo, weón. Lo tenía por acá. Bueno, ahí vamos a cachar. Pero vamos a estar viendo ahora un especial de cómo se hizo Speed Racer, que de hecho es uno de los placeres culpables que yo tengo así en la vida de esta película, bueno, porque como que la encuentro mala pero la encuentro buena, no sé, como que la encuentro mala pero igual es igual a la serie, pues, bueno. Entonces no sé, tengo como mis sentimientos encontrados agridulces con esta movie. Pero un gran elenco y para mí resultó. Hay cosas que están muy exageradas, pero en el anime también, o sea, para qué vamos con cosas. Así que sin más preámbulos, comencemos. 5.
Speed Racer has completely changed the equation.
I think it's going to be a very different movie than anything people have really ever seen before, especially in the family film genre.
The Wachowski brothers said to me one day how they made all these great films and that they always were disturbed that their nieces and the nephews could never see their movies.
It's incredible what they're doing, taking the best elements of a cartoon to make a live-action film.
They're fascinated by the whole world that Speed Racer produces.
John Goodman.
It's just so different and fresh, and I think they're perfect for it.
I hope that it's going to be considered a groundbreaking film because I think that's really what the Wachowskis are doing.
Keeping what was the essence of Speed Racer, but taking it into the whole new millennium.
Go, Speed, go!
I can't wait.
¿Verdad que el piloto X era el mismo actor de Lost, po, weón? Que hacía Jack en Lost.
Racing's everything. For my family, it isn't just a sport. It's way more important than that. It's like a religion. They eat, drink, think, and breathe racing. I mean, their last name is Racer.
The reality of the world that they live in, it's sort of
It's a little different culture that we've never seen before. It's kind of a retro future.
It's truly a car culture.
Retrofuturista, ese es el
business
concepto.
is definitely
Eso es
incorporated right into their house. I mean, you can see the cars right from the living room, and the whole family is interested in this business that Pop has of designing cars and building cars.
It's their heart and soul. It's what is handed down through the
Es
generations.
que se ve falso. ¿Cómo te explico? Se ve falso. Se ve sobrepuesto, pero es caricatura.
I'm a throwback. I'm a nuts and bolts guy.
When I watch you do some of the things you do, you just take my breath away. I'm so proud.
¿Cómo va, mister? El psicólogo del grupo.
The way the story goes is Speed is surrounded by a whole family, and they're a very tight-knit unit, and it's kind of mirrored with the bad guys who don't care about the values that aren't defined by money, and that is what the Racer family is all about.
Es que es muy ridículamente caricaturesca. Eso es lo que...
You won't even finish the race.
He's just trying to scare you, son.
What are we gonna do?
It's about Speed having the choice of entering into the professional racing level and being tempted by a gigantic race team that would ultimately be controlled by some massive conglomerate and ultimately being corrupted by that.
Someone's trying to crush everything in my life that matters to me. So it's the power struggle between Speed trying to do the right thing versus these corporate guys who just want to control him. And since he won't be controlled, do everything we can to destroy him and to stop him.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver? Then sign that contract.
Larry and Andy said that in certain senses it's like a Capra movie.
Él hace muy bien de
A
villano.
small family being against the huge corporation.
You walk away from me, you walk away from this deal, no matter how well you drive, you won't win, you won't place. I guarantee you right now, you won't even finish the race.
He's just trying to scare you, son.
What you do behind the wheel of a race car has nothing to do with business.
Ese sonido tan clásico del Match
car
5.
version of the mom and pop diner
Era cuando
that's been in
saltaba.
existence for years and years, and now, you know, they're being offered a huge sum of money to sell out. Will they or won't
Eso
they?
tendría yo una colección de autos de
Larry and Andy
un
obviously have
DeLorean,
a very intense theme running
un
with
Max
that. That is
5,
this theme of corporate globalization and
el
domination
Batimóvil
of
de
the
Tim Burton.
individual.
Think you can drive a car and change the
Pero
world?
diecast,
It doesn't
así,
work like
metálico.
that.
Maybe not. It's the only thing I know how to do, and I gotta do something.
Pops and Mrs. Racer have already lost one son to racing under dark, dire...
¿Cachai que está ridículamente sobrepuesto? Pero es así, po. Es caricaturesco.
These people play rough.
That's why I'm going with you.
Speed's relationship with Trixie is funny. You know, they met when they were 10 years old, and they've been going out for 10, 11 years. They love each other a lot, but they're also best friends.
Move it, Speed. It's getting ugly out there. She has her own helicopter, the TRX, and she sort of spots for him. So she'll be up in the helicopter over the course and sort of see what's coming up ahead.
Soplando, claro.
She's a part of the team, as everybody is. Even Spritle and
Bujía.
Chip Chim, you know, they come in and they
No,
say...
Bujía era
Oh, no.
el mecánico.
The only way you'll ever stop these people is to bring them to justice.
You know, the interesting thing about Racer X is that he's working for this organization that is trying to stop corruption, and there's life
Y las peleas son igual a las
that he not.
a las de la serie, po, súper exageradas,
It's
muy...
going to be very good.
No, he's going to be the
Hay
best.
gente que le cargó esa estética a la película, pero yo lo encuentro totalmente adecuado.
kind of cars you're going to see in this movie are so far and above the concept cars of this day. I mean, they're going to blow people away. Cars were central characters within the film, and that we were in a world that was fascinated with cars.
Where in our world we have architects, in the speed racer world we have architects. Everyone has a designer vehicle that is almost like the clothes they wear.
Each car is different. Each car has a personality. In total, we've probably designed in excess of 100 cars.
Just totally represents their individuality, and everything looks super cool.
And of course the Wachowskis are geniuses.
Espérense que me acabo de pegar una cagada, espérate. Hice una weá por error que no debería haber hecho, weón. Cerré esta weá. Ya voy. Que quería, como estoy en un lugar que no estoy acostumbrado, se me fue, literalmente se me fue la mano para donde no era. A ver, esto va para acá, esto va acá, y ahora sí seguimos.
Imaginations are so boundless, and it's great that this time it's more accessible for kids and for family going.
They love to break the mold. They love to push the envelope. They want to go beyond what you've seen before. They want to do that.
De hecho, mi viejo me mandó a decirle algo, le escribo un rato que estoy comiendo.
Taken to another level, but with cars. These are some of the most dangerous drivers in the world.
The cars will probably be equipped with secret weapons, so we've modified the Mark V to try to counter their attacks.
Psicólogo de streamer. Esa nueva...
You know, it takes place in a world that's
nueva profesión.
set by
Psicólogo de streamer.
combative car racing.
The cars fight each other and hit each other, and it's very hard and aggressive. And
they wanted a form of stunt racing, some mix of skateboarding, extreme sports, all of those combined.
Creo que iban ocupando la derrapada para ir sacando las vueltas, pues.
Then, you know, like the tracks themselves, they're all such different races in such different environments.
Eso voy también las pistas. Las pistas, mucha gente las encontró así como, oh, son pistas de Mario Kart y la wea. Weón, ¿vieron la serie? Las pistas eran así, weón. Es como el weón que alega, el weón que... ¿Sabes qué? Yo creo que, de verdad, y esto no es joda, y no es por defender una de mis placeres culpables, pero mucha de la gente que critica esta película es que nunca vio la serie. Porque la critican como película. Y dicen, weón, si la película es re mala, weón, que aquí, que allá, que la weón. Y tú le dices, compadre, pero ¿viste la animación? Es igual. Es igual. O sea, hoy por hoy están jodiendo, o sea, no jodiendo, pero están diciendo así como, oh, The Last of Us, weón, es prácticamente, ¿cuánto se llama un copy-paste de lo que vemos en el juego, y como, oh, qué increíble y todo, y bueno, Speed Racer es lo mismo, es como que hubiesen hecho una película de GeForce o Gatchaman, no sé cómo los conocerán ustedes, o Forza G, no sé, tiene Battle of the Planets, tiene tantos nombres esa serie, y bueno, funcionaría perfectamente bien con este tipo de estética, entonces no... Pero bueno, siempre pregúntenle a la persona que está alegando mucho por una wea, sobre todo por una película o por una serie, pregúntenle si la vio. Les prometo y les juro, y se los doy firmado, que más de la mitad va a decir, no la he visto, pero escuché a un amigo que la vio. Bueno, hazte una formación, fórmate una opinión propia, weón. No lo que diga el resto va a ser tu opinión, pues, weón. Es como lo mismo que les conversaba la otra vez, pues, weón, de los videojuegos. Yo tengo un montón de videojuegos que son considerados y rankeados como juegos malos, como Sengoku Basara 3, el juego de Linterna Verde, de Play 3, ponte tú, no sé, pues, weón. Y son juegos que a mí me encantan, loco. Que al resto no les gusten, allá a ellos, pues, weón. Pero la cuestión es que te guste a uno, ¿cachai? Y por último, si todos, es como... Hay mucha gente que se sube como al carro de la victoria, que todos lo encuentran malo, sin verlo, lo encuentran malo porque el resto lo encuentra malo. No. Yo prefiero, ok, todo el mundo lo encuentra malo, lo voy a ver, y si después de verlo lo encuentro malo, perfecto, me subo al carro. Pero no sin conocimiento a causa, pues, weón. O sea, mejor calladito.
Racetracks after the concepts that the Wachowskis had.
The guy who moves the gimbal, he plays a video. So he's just like this, and all you'll see, he's going on the actual
profesor
track
Javier
that he's
de...
supposed to be racing.
And then the gimbal would respond.
El profesor...
It's a very kind of
bueno, Red X, Profesor X.
Not a whole lot of needing to act in the gimbal. I mean, you're really getting thrown.
Como que le anda, le funciona.
We spent time incorporating a full driving simulator into the setup that we have.
Heads up.
And we can give control.
O sea, tiene que ser la raja que te lleven así,
and they can literally steer and drive and accelerate, and the base will respond, and so they can feel like they're actually driving the machine instead of being driven.
Wing left.
There were sequences where Racer X was just like knocking the crap out of cars on both sides of them, and you want to make sure that when you do that, that you get a lot of that.
Larry and Andy have done a really great job of informing all of the actors about what they're going to actually be seeing on the green screen. It's definitely a big learning curve with green screen. I'm so used to being in natural environments and being on location and actually seeing the surroundings. They'll take pictures of real things around the world and they'll plug it into the computer as the background. So what you're going to have is it's 2-cell animation with 3D objects moving on the 2D plane.
The idea was to take like the basic tenets of what like a cartoon was and to apply it into a 3D filmic environment.
The first thing people are going to get about Speed Racer is that it's nothing like The Matrix at all.
People get a little wary of making a movie out of a cartoon. But the approach they're taking is so different than the sort of normal approach. Oh, man.
It's a different kind of place. It's the world that we know, but it's not.
It has, for the Wachowskis, a much different feel. It feels more magical than sci-fi.
I don't know that I have the words to describe it. It's like human anime.
Eso mismo, es un anime.
Anime style of film.
¿Cachai?
It's all live action.
Está bien que sea así de exagerado. O así de ridículamente mal, comillas, mal hecho. Porque hay gente que diría, uy, mira cómo está ese fondo recortado, weón, qué horrible.
Speed, get out of there! I can't move! Speed! That's my boy! Speed Racer is back!
Hubba hubba.
Go. Oh, había que la otra
Speed Racer was the first Japanese animation that the brothers had ever seen.
They're fascinated by the whole world that Speed Racer produces. It's just so different and fresh, and I think they're perfect for it.
It's incredible what they're doing, taking the best elements of a cartoon to make a live-action film.
I hope that it's going to be considered a groundbreaking kind of film because I think that that's really what the Wachowskis are doing.
Keeping what was the essence of Speed Racer, but taking it into the whole new millennium.
It's going to be really, really rich, but it's all going to feel like it's its own world.
Carrefour.
All drivers to your cars, please.
The Wachowski brothers, when they first saw Speed
Estamos
Racer,
viendo el
that's what
making
kind
of de Speed
got
Racer,
them to
hermano.
understand Japanese animation.
Bienvenido por lo
They
demás.
were conscious of the fact that
Empezó
it was
recién.
different than other American animation, different than Yogi Bear or Hanna-Barbera, the things that we were all growing up on. It got them excited, and they went on to become big fans of anime,
Animatrix, weón.
and which inspired
Oh, cómo no vimos esa weá
They wanted
acá.
to modernize,
La voy a buscar, weón.
cartoon material. It's one of the first animes that really took off in the States.
De hecho, lo voy a
One
buscar
of
al
the key
tiro,
ideas
weón.
that they had was the racing. They had this idea within the racing that they wanted a form of stunt racing, they called it initially, which was some mix of skateboarding, extreme sports, and Formula One, NASCAR almost. Just all
Ya, la
those
mezcla
combined into a
de-
multinational hyper event that would take place during the movie. The Wachowski brothers really felt that to make a movie like Speed Racer, the races have to be really different. They have to be not just different than you've ever seen before, but even in the movie they have to be all different.
Animatrix,
They can't be the same
weón,
races
é
over and
increíble.
over again. So that was what we spent the first 3 months on the project doing, was actually trying to come up with ideas that could represent this new, cool, extreme form of racing.
We want the whole movie to essentially feel like something you might see in an HD sports broadcast, except lit extremely well.
I think aesthetically it's an homage to the style of 60s animation, but they definitely don't want to let that restrict the excitement of an action sequence, so that we're sort of developing a hybrid of old
Animatrix, la pillé.
Cutting edge techniques essentially.
We're going to have like some serious dynamics with these cars. They will be like fantastic, physics. There'll be beautiful renderings of these cars. They will look real, but they will have, like the rest of their movie, a hyper-real sort of quality, color, and definition.
For example, for a 3D racing sequence, the foreground cars and the track may be rendered fully in 3D and made to look as beautiful and real, maybe even hyper-real. But then the environments, like the mid-ground tracks, the background grandstands, city or sky in the background, may be placed on layers or rendered only as still images, and then again using more old-fashioned techniques, shifted in a way where they don't quite feel three-dimensional.
We really want something that's sort of new, different, and exciting, and that will be evident hopefully in the design of the racing tracks, the design of the sets, the design of the cars themselves.
Designing cars is not an easy thing to do. It takes real car designers years to forge through through concept cars, so it's no small undertaking.
People see so many cars that there's kind of a subconscious thing that if they don't look wrong or they don't look believable,
they don't look like that door, estás reconceptualizando un auto clásico de todos los tiempos, que es el Mach 5, weón. Entonces igual es peludísimo,
really quickly, and so I think you have to be sensitive to that, even though we definitely use every smoke and mirror trick we have to kind of convey that these things are believable, so that they don't become a conflict to the story, that they just add in the storytelling. The Mach 5 was so iconic. I think there's so many characteristics about it that really make it what it is. So in some ways, when we decided to really pay homage to it, it wasn't that difficult. It was more of a challenge of bringing it into the real world, where you could see it driving down a street and it didn't look so out of place. So that was a bit of a challenge. But also there was a lot of places to expand that weren't really defined in the cartoon. In the cartoon, the interior was usually a close-up shot of just the steering wheel as he touched one of the A through F buttons or G. It was really, really straightforward. And so that was the place where I had a lot of fun with. We brought this kind of modern cowl, like kind of enclosing the driver, that had this kind of fighter cockpit quality to it that you might see in a new Lamborghini.
Wachowski brothers, they wanted a form of stunt racing, some mix of skateboarding, extreme sports. We're building these tracks that really look like skateboard parks, just totally out of proportion.
Los circuitos son una locura, güey.
Banks and spirals and turns and twists and big half pipes.
What was cool about that is, we all kind of sat down and were talking about, playing with little Hot Wheel cars when we were kids, how we do these things, and they would do it back.
Es como hacer una pista Hot Wheels.
The other car.
Me imagino.
Playing as a kid and really regressing down to that level of how much fun it was. That it was like, okay, how do you bridge that? How do we branch into this new style racing? So in our world, we wanted to have this purpose-built single-seater. Does nothing but goes insanely fast. That kind of open wheel F1 mixed with an M1 Abrams battle tank.
And that's how the T180 came about, from early sketches, and then we'd see that the cars had to fly above one another in the previous, be able to turn around and skid, so it became obvious that the wheels had to turn 180 degrees so that the car could actually move sideways.
The mechanics of the way the cars move is also very different than a normal racing film.
Exactly.
When the cars come around like a big bend or a turn, in this film, their back wheels can slide in a special way that you don't see in NASCAR. It's almost like skiing in a certain sense.
So the boys in the concept area started designing new suspension systems.
That kind of went back to the discussion that we had with Larry and Andy early on, and was how are we going to suggest or
tuvieron que reinventar la rueda, los güeyes, básicamente.
Because the steering wheel, I think everyone kind of
tuvieron que reinventar la rueda.
Okay, this turns the wheel, this makes it go faster. Oh, this, brakes. We kind of have those very kind of standard preconceptions. But if you look at rally cars, for instance, rally cars have a lot more pedals. And most people don't know that, but they have a lot more pedals because they can brake the back tires versus the front. They can kind of throw the weight around the car just by doing different things to the pedals. So some of the little like kind of balletic footwork that race car drivers will use, and we try to interject that stuff and kind of show people things that maybe they haven't seen before.
So we had maybe 10 different styles of cars. They weren't Formula One, they weren't NASCAR, they're stunt cars.
Okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy.
They made some really extraordinary fighting sequences when the Matrix films were done, and Carfu is that taken to another level, but with cars.
You know, it takes place in a world that's obsessed by acrobatic, combative car racing.
You're kind of playing a very visceral chess match at a high speed with dire results.
Cars fight each other and hit each other, and it's very hard.
No, esta wea yo no estaba la cagada cuando... Es que era como en la serie, pues.
Each car is different. Each car has a personality.
And they all look unique. They can all do different things.
A mí me hubiese gustado que hubiesen hecho una de los autos locos, weón.
It's going into the art department and seeing all the layouts for.
¿Quién se acuerda de esa serie, weón? Donde salía Patán, Pierno y
It's quite something to see. You know, it's like one car has Japanese tattoos. Another car has like rose prints. Another car is like this black and white mix. But there's such a variety of cars.
And in real life, all kinds of racing cars are covered with advertisement, with logos. So we had to do the same for our racing cars. And we didn't want to use real life logos, so we had to make up a few hundred logos that look like real life logos to make it look real. We created like over 400 logos. That was our first part. I mean, even before designing the cars, we said, well, we need logos for these cars. And we decided for...
Bueno, te digo una pura wea, yo cacho algo, no totalmente, pero no cacho completamente de diseño. Pero 400 empresas, 400 logos, concha tu madre. Es como el weón que hizo los 150 Pokémon, weón. O el que inventa los Pokémon en Pokémon Company, weón, no sé, 400 logos, weón, me cago.
400 fake companies. We pick up names from all over the world, so there's like brands.
Los autos locos, con esto de la tecnología de eso, era muy avanzado.
There's 200 logos on it, and it's just us taking it to the next level. Okay, we're gonna put some.
Weón, se hay una weá que yo me cagaba de la risa en los autos locos, pero así, lejos, cualquier mierda. Mis dos personajes, porque literalmente mis dos personajes favoritos iban en el mismo auto, eran los hermanos Macana. Los hermanos Macana, de hecho, cuando pinchaban la rueda, era porque los weones les quedaba la rueda cuadrada, pues weón. Los weones se bajaban y empezaban a puro guascazo, weón, a arreglar el auto, que manera cagarme la risa, weón. Hoy yo de pendejo que gozaba esa weá, weón. Los hermanos Macana me cagaban la risa y los buenos iban así, alegando arriba al auto de piedra, pues weón. La mierda. A mí no me daba tanta risa Pierno y una ni el otro, pero bueno, los hermanos Macana para mí eran la cumbia, weón.
Logos on a car, he's one of 200 on it.
In total, we probably designed...
¿Se escucha bien a todo esto?
How fast did Royalton say he could build that tin can with his fancy machines?
36 hours.
Then we'll do it in 32.
No, estoy en una revelación B, no... Estoy en otra casa.
You see there in the background is a full-scale model of our Mach 5 Hero car. It looks like a car, but it doesn't go anywhere. There's no engine in there. It's no really working parts.
Solamente la maqueta.
So that's why we call it a prop. It just sits there and looks the part without actually being able to drive somewhere. We built two full prop cars, which is the Mach 5 and the Racer X. And this baby here, which is the Mach 6 racing car, which will never be completed because you only see the Racer family working on it. It all started with a computer file that came from the art department. That was a three-dimensional file, and that was farmed out to a company that milled the basic shape of the car. So from that fiberglass shells, the same file went to the effects department, so that their car and our car do match
Esto es como cuando a Krusty el payaso le quitan el programa y luego se va a una caseta a transmitir y dice, no, aquí estamos con el no sé cuánto y el calcetín no sé cuánto. Cacha los storyboards, por weón. Funciona perfecto.
They're very specific. They have very specific ideas, and they use the storyboards to inform other people about exactly what they're looking for. The more visual effects, the more they need the artists to sort of translate the director's ideas.
Right now, I'm doing a scene here for finale, the Grand Prix. So it's a crazy track. Physics really don't apply too much.
La física no se aplica demasiado.
The storyboards that we're doing, we take it to a certain level based on the Wachowskis' direction, and then they go and they animate them. They'll take some of the boards and make little mini animated films using the drawings, and then they'll go and do computer animatics.
From
there.
What a previous artist does is find the right concept for several action shots and cut together all the shots to an entire sequence and show that to the director. Your main goal, of course, is just to make it look cool. I guess the big difference is if you work on a live action movie, there are certain things you can't really do because it's not shootable. And in a fully CG movie like this, you can stick the camera in places where you wouldn't be able to shoot that in reality.
Now we can get those really cool car shots where you're 2 inches off the ground, like underneath the hubcap of the car and looking out at everything battering around. It's a completely night and day difference.
There's a lot of effort that went into the fact that you had to take an animated series and turn it into a live action movie. So they spent about 3 or 4 months just basically working on the concept of how to do that and still having the Wachowski signature to it.
Essentially they wanted to do 2 things. They wanted to take racing somewhere it hadn't really been taken before, but also establish some style that is based on anime.
We wanted to be faithful to the spirit, the nuance, the sensibilities of Speed Racer. Not just that anime, but the movement of that type of animation that was happening in Japan from that moment through decades further. And so began this fascinating exploration of the cinematic language of anime. Japanese animation is often far less concerned with reality or being literal. It's much more interested in producing a feeling, an emotion, or a stimulus as you watch it. Quite often there will not be much attention paid to the way cameras move realistically, the way scenery may sort of transition from one place to the other. This is still true of contemporary Japanese animation, and the very origins of that are all visible in the original Speed.
Bueno, yo Animatrix la pondría si no tuviese tantos copyright.
In the late 60s, all of the techniques were basically just painted layers, essentially, and drawn layers, where one layer would be placed on
Bueno, Sebato, ¿cómo está ahí?
really only be
No, esto es absolutamente temporal, es solamente por hoy. Ya mañana volvemos al escenario habitual.
Those would be 3 separate paintings that would essentially just be shifted against another.
Tómenlo como episodio especial.
While the paintings themselves didn't really change.
Episodio especial desde el lugar desconocido.
Thought that on this picture that we would try to approximate some of the types of ways.
Me está hueveando, cacha todo lo que se compuso la pura escena, pues weón.
In the scene who are both in focus all the time. You can have the background slipping in and slipping out of frame. You can have characters coming in and crossing the frame.
There's a way that they imitate motion or spatial movement, but it's clearly very flat and fake.
It's pretty exciting, and I like the fact that there's a great deal of fun being had with compositing. Like normally it's meant to be a kind of invisible art.
Typically what you're doing is you're taking 2 or more elements that have been shot at different times and you're compositing them to make it look as if they were shot at the same time with a single camera.
Y el papá pelea como Bud Spencer, así llega y te están un puro guascazo, güey, y cagaste.
Told your eye what's important in each frame of a film by focal depth of
Aunque en Rocket League, que era el boogie de esa película, weird.
For example, you'll have a foreground layer and a background layer, and then we composite those two pieces to create something which is infinitely in focus, which is of course impossible to shoot at once.
Which creates this real person within what a cartoon type artwork can do.
The way that the planes move against one another has a quality which we've all grown up seeing. It's like a second language to children, and we thought that would be interesting to try to replicate, but instead of animated content, it would be with beautiful high fidelity photographic material. And that basically began the ball rolling on how we would shoot this film.
That led us into looking at a technique called the QTVR, QuickTime Virtual Reality Sphere. So we will place a stills camera, shoot a total wrap-around view at very high resolution.
This tripod head is basically a 2-axis motion control unit, and what it does is it just spins the camera from its nodal position. It allows us to collect an entire sphere of images that are slightly overlapping between each tile. And from that we get a super high resolution sphere, and we call it a bubble. So this is, we're shooting bubbles right now.
So we can gather that background, shoot it in its entirety. And because it's a still as well, we
claro que eso después lo usan como background,
as we like. And then the major
igual la pega, en vez de ir a buscar locaciones, ahora tenés que ir a filmar locaciones.
What would be expensive locations
pero sin gente.
Around them, to get just an exquisite looking film.
Entonces, ¿vato qué se cuenta? ¿Cuánto tiempo? O estás por acá siempre y no hablas. Hombre tímido.
So if you need to make a movie with, thousands of shots, for example, you can shoot many of these bubbles, as we call them.
Hay mucha gente que mira y no comenta. Pero sin miedo, comenten, ¿no?
We've staggered schedules so that we acquire the backgrounds.
La idea es que interactuemos también.
The basic paintwork and concept work on them. So those are there with us on set.
Por ejemplo, si a ustedes no les gusta esta película, díganme por qué. Y lo conversamos, no hay ningún problema.
And the power of making backgrounds like that is that you can essentially go anywhere and shoot because it's very small.
Pero con argumentos sí. No sé, ¿por qué no me gusta? ¿Por qué no? ¿La viste? No. ¿Por qué no te gusta? No sé.
Architecturally spectacular places that you can't close down to have cars drive through, for example. So it works very well for interiors, but it works equally well for exteriors.
We were traveling all over the world. For example, for the Casa Crystal race, we went from Morocco to Greece, from Greece to Italy, from Italy to Austria, from Austria to Germany.
It actually makes the world now accessible to you. You can go anywhere and shoot these things and shoot them en masse. So as we have cars racing through mountainsides, in this case we're going to shoot at this location, Grossglockner. It is the most insane, most winding road through the Alps. It's just laden with hairpin turns, and we're going to shoot spherically captured bubbles all throughout these roads in a way that allows us to drive anywhere, crash zoom to another, hairpin turn, see a scene take place there, crash zoom to another turn. We're going to shoot the mountains in a way that allows us to make these things which we call conveyor belts, which is basically like Fred Flintstone coming home from work, like except it will be like spectacular high def, extreme photography looping, so that you can race cars anywhere on these mountains for long periods of time.
It is very unique on its own because we create an entirely digital environment which surrounds the actors 360 degrees. And it usually starts with photography of interesting locations, which very often are beautiful on their own. But then I take these locations and I do a lot of post-processing and conceptual work, color corrections and matte painting to get them in the fantasy realm.
Pero bueno,
the movie in general is
sé que lo muestran ahí como que lo hacen muy fácil, pero a mí me explota la cabeza con mucha tecnología.
So when you're actually building the shot, you have this library you look through and you're like, oh, well, I like these trees in Morocco, and I like this street in Stilvio in Italy, and I need this curve and this rock from Santorini, Greece. So in a way, it's like sampling the world, sample cinema.
Well, the environments are very rich, but they also need people to be moving around in them in order to make it feel like a populated place.
¿Te cambiaste de casa? Ah, no, eso ya lo contesté. No me he cambiado de casa. No.
The desired feel of it is something that's extremely crisp and everything has to look beautiful. There's no room for degradation of the images. They really have to look perfect.
So that led us to investigate where digital HD cameras in particular were at, and we tested a variety. And the Sony cameras that we used, called the F23s, were literally prototypes at the time we shot the movie. So they were really the latest thing available, and the images were extraordinary. It really contributed to the look.
Can also be a huge benefit in the workflow. And so now we can have a compositor sit there and composite live while they're shooting.
And we're able to see right away kind of what we're getting. And we're getting previs and plates, at the same time. So we can put everything together and make sure it all looks right and it's all in the right space. Originally previs, you lay out as best you can the shot so they have a reference for what they're going to shoot. So they can place these elements into the CG world. And now we're actually creating as much of the CG world as we can before they actually shoot. So it's almost like the shot is a third, halfway done maybe, and then they're shooting the element to drop in. So the directors are trying to get as far as they can before they actually shoot the actor. It's a lot more complicated. It takes a lot more time.
What is this?
This is called a change of plan.
You couldn't
Mala mía, me equivoqué. La recagué, loco. Perdón. Ah, ahí están los ya. No he hecho nada. Volvemos.
The way Larry and Andy want to make the film, if you said we're going to build everything, it would be far too limited. When you build a set, you're kind of containing yourself to a degree.
Larry and Andy have done a really great job of informing all of the actors about what they're going to actually be seeing on the green screen. It's definitely a big learning curve with green screen. I'm so used to being in natural environments and being on location and actually seeing the surroundings.
You have marks on the floor and someone says, well, this is the cliff over here, okay? And the helicopters are over there. And the cars are over here.
It's been really challenging. I mean, I knew it would be. Harking back to that first conversation with Larry and Andy, I think they were essentially saying it's going to be like nothing you've ever done before. It's going to require a certain amount of patience and sort of technical awareness.
Ow! What are you looking at? Get that monkey!
Even though you have all the accoutrements, maybe not another actor there, you can't see the set because it's all green. Nonetheless, you can imagine all that. Because that's what we're here to do, basically.
No, Chucha no se llama.
Not just pretending. There's a curious way sometimes in which limitations can give you a kind of freedom.
Because you're influenced by their direction and what's in your head, and not necessarily by any physical constraints around you.
Impressed?
You could say that.
The stuff we shot on green screen, I don't know what's there, what I've been acting to. I want to see if I get it right.
Sí, está, existe. Lo vamos a probar después el Hi-Fi Rush. El Dame 5 Rush.
They brought in video game designers to model whole racetracks after the concepts that the Wachowskis had. And then they had somebody come in and write the program so that it linked up with an actual steering wheel and the gimbal. So one of the digital effects guys would sit behind the wheel.
So he's just like this, and all you'll see, he's going on the actual track that he's supposed to be racing.
And then the gimbal would respond to that. It's a very kind of organic experience. There's not a whole lot of needing to act in the gimbal. I mean, you're really getting thrown around. This is the interior cockpit for the Mark V, and this is for the gimbal. So we only need that interior, and visual effects will add the exterior digitally. Because this is going on the gimbal, we have like the little motor here with a steering wheel connection. And we can actually drive the car on the gimbal, and so the gimbal moves exactly like the driver steers.
Problem traditionally when you're programming a move into a base is the actors, especially as they're driving, they're having to learn how the base is going to move, and then they have to pretend that they are moving it in that way. What we wanted to do is make that feel a little bit more
instinctive to the actor and give them a sense that they're participating. So we spent time incorporating a full driving simulator into the setup that we have. Heads up! And we can give control in the steering wheel to the actor in the car, the cockpit, and the pedals. And they can literally steer and drive and accelerate, and the base will respond. And so they can feel like they're actually driving the machine instead of being driven.
I can't move! I can't move!
You can't have all this crazy stuff happening on the track and then drop in and have an actor that's just like he's sitting in a car going down the Autobahn at 90, you know? I mean, it's got to look pretty intense inside those cockpits.
Wing left!
There were sequences where racer actors just like knocking the crap out of cars on both sides of them, and you want to make sure that when you do that, that you get a lot of that.
Let's go.
People get a little wary when they hear you're making a movie out of a cartoon, but the approach they're taking is so different than the sort of normal approach. Cool beans.
The idea is to get freer and freer, and to really like put the camera where you want it, to see what you want when you want.
A large part of the way we're putting stuff together is actually about trying to create something that's interesting looking and not necessarily realistic. And that often means deliberately breaking rules that we're used to as part of the process. It's slightly nerve-wracking at first, but once you sort of break from the traditional focus of trying to perfect and finesse things, once you realize that this world has got this freedom, it's actually quite liberating.
Maybe it's the only way how you can do this movie. I mean, it is about speed racing, it is about animation.
For me, it's almost akin to something like jazz improvisation. That's what it was about, not totally ignoring the rules and language that we built, but definitely beginning to question, why certain things are accepted as standard. Why do we do this way? And using it as a prop to get where we wanted to go, where it was required, but at other times not allowing it to get in the way of what we were trying to achieve.
We've never seen anything like this. It's a whole new world, baby. It's a whole new world.
Borazine, Semper Fiber, Hydrocell, Musha Motors, Royalton. The giants of motorsport battling for supremacy on the track before our eyes. The drivers of the legendary teams are enshrined in racing's pantheon. But what about the cars? These vehicles are legends in their own right. They push the limits of technology and human ingenuity beyond our wildest imagination. Drivers depend on their machines more than ever, traversing a dangerous line between glory and disgrace. Now, we take you under the hoods of the metallic warriors of the World Racing League and discover what makes them supercharged. Flashback to the earliest days of the horseless carriage. Men and women holed up in barns and warehouses, custom crafting the largest, toughest hunks of metal they could manage. These monsters met on rugged dirt tracks for the original derby races. Dust-choked, adrenaline-soaked affairs that separated men from mice. Need more power? Just add a cylinder. But as time progressed, grit gave way to pavement, gasoline to power cells, and danger to the omnipresent quick-save device. Technology reigned supreme. Car design and entertainment combined into the ultimate advance with the development of the T180 wheelbase and axle. And after that, all bets were off. But what sets the legends of today's tracks apart? Let's take a look. The Togokan
¿Quién no se acuerda de ese
mark
sonido
of
de
quality for generations. Their flagship vehicle, driven by family scion Tejo Togokan, took the city to city 2 years running. What did he need under the hood to do it? First up, buried deep in the block, a secret weapon. Togokan's proprietary thermionic reciprocator, and underneath her smooth outer shell lies a fire-breathing dragon of an engine, the TM971. This beast growls out 567 dyne centimeters of torque for an unheard of 29 bars of mean effective pressure. With that kind of muscle, how does Togokan keep the wheelbase from disintegrating? with a single forged bromium hydrate wishbone. That's how. And how does the car release the pent-up hurricane within? A modified King & Ring reverse helix exhaust port. Togokan is famous for precision engineering and exacting road tests. It's no wonder the company brands its rides with a fire-breathing dragon. This baby can cook. Écran établissement, or E-square, a benchmark of refinement and sophistication on the track since the first Grand Prix. But don't break out the fine china yet, folks, because their top dog, Grey Ghost, is coming at you in a veritable tank of a ride. The Ghost car is chock-a-block with high-tech features, but none are greater than her state-of-the-art pulse detonation engine, the first of its kind on the road. But if the Ghost has anything to do with it, this unit will power his 26-cylinder Karasu Goe hot block straight into the record books. Look at the curves on that baby. Grey Ghost also rolls on LAF twice-folded amber axles with Fibertronic Cyberg bearings. And in the rear, the world's first negative displacement undercharger turns everyday oxygen into liquid fire. The stress-free marshmallow paint job keeps the car camouflaged until it's too late. The Grey Ghost has already passed you by. Next stop, the winner's circle.
Ahí están todos los logos falsos esos que decían antes que habían hecho.
You can throw at them, and trust me, track designers stay up late trying to test architects every step of the way. Cosmopolis' oldest standing track, Thunderhead, may look like an antique, but it takes a real driver to stand up to its twists and turns. Built on the outskirts of town, the track was one of the last designed by driving legend Velocity DeWitt. Dreadnought Jump is over 30 meters and has spelled DNF for more than a few aspiring speed demons. The track is 100% forged steel, which presents a slippery situation for drivers, especially when they hit Thunderhead's infamous dog bowls. The course record has been held for years by late fan favorite Rex Racer, but his little brother Speed has been knocking at his door lately. A relative newcomer to the game, Flying Fox's Freight brings a zippy little ride to the equation. Flying Foxes uses the factory standard Okamoto Roadster BXX component core body with a tapered Kigoi monocoque. Underneath her skin, though, she's all custom. Let's start with Flying Fox's jump jacks. With over 75 patented components, these reverse helix decompensators offer up twice the vertical thrust of a classic no-sock jack. And what rally car would be complete without a rogue's gallery of assistive modifications? Flying Foxes uses a telescoping carbon fiber Christmas tree chop bit with a reticulating U-joint. Ouch! And the unique paint job has a way of catching opposing drivers' eyes. But beware.
Beware.
What would racing be without characters? While some gun for glory day in, day out, many teams are content to play their part in the pack. Spoilers, background players, draft funnelers, and elbow men. They may not bring home the gold, but they certainly add color to the circuit. Razorback Industries brings us perennial also-ran Pitter-Pat, but they get an A for effort for this.
Porque un jabalí, yeah.
Pitter-Pat can be seen day in, day out at Thunderhead, toiling for a spot in the standings. The company might be pros when it comes to removing unsightly hair growth, but don't count on this piggy-wiggy to shave any seconds off the scoreboard. She's factory standard, stem to stern. Oh well, there's always action figures and toy cars, Pat.
Speaking of
toy cars, what's perennial contender Nitro doing in a jacked-up Mutafed with dual decompensators? His sponsor, Ekpyrosis, has done
Creo que el Tripsicolan, si no me equivoco, tienen el Max 5, weón, en Hot Wheels. Si es que no me equivoco.
Nitro phones it in with a retracting master cylinder and stress skin caliper pistons. Ekpyrosis must be living in a parallel universe if they think they'll ever see their driver on the podium.
On the podium?
One of the more exotic tracks on the circuit these days is the incredible Fuji Helexicon, built into an archipelago in the West Seas with features as diverse as a volcano, a coral reef, and an overhanging granite cliff. The race departs from Fuji's capital, Mana City, rather leisurely, but if the driver doesn't get up enough speed, they'll find themselves belly up in the first turn of the fearsome Corkscrew Pass. And keep that pedal to the metal, friend, because Fuji's track boasts inclines of 90 degrees and more. Couple that with two fearsome jumps and you've got one of the most challenging tracks out there. Boy, does this one separate the champions from the wannabe. Next up, Turbine Pioneers Hydrocell and their premier driver, the colorful Snake Oiler. Snake's ride combines a sense of entertainment with the lethal cunning of a cobra. What's this in the trunk? Is it a Venom drive shaft, as Snake claims? Or a good old-fashioned Genesis 420 oil slickerator masquerading as an engine part? And there's no disguising this medieval contraption. The Snake-a-Pult flings Oiler's deadly pets into unassuming competitors' cockpits with serpentine accuracy.
Pero técnicamente como mucha fuerza para...
This car is no toy. Rolling shroud intakes, articulated python grip tires, nanometric valve springs, and a shittable snake scale wrap make Hydrocell a perennial player in any race. Semper Fiber made its name in cutting-edge digestive aids. Their motto, first in, last out, has won over consumers of all ages. But their army of drivers has failed to post a single W in the standings. Could it be the...
Claro, un canal de solamente y exclusivamente de auto de carrera. No, tú tenías el Max 5, lo tenías ahí en Hot Wheels.
And what's this?
O estoy mal yo.
Semper has installed an articulating scissorator. And this titanium chopper ain't for hedge clipping, folks. And under the hood, another illegal mod, a Bobé R124 plasma cannon, or goo gun in technical terms. It all leads this narrator to believe that perhaps Semper Fiber isn't in it to win it. 45 straight DNFs for the SF crew tell the story better. This army is nothing but cutthroats, jackals, and thugs. Look out!
Bloqueo.
And while we're on the topic of armies, Team Thorazine brings us a ride that harkens back to a different time.
¿Sabes qué me pasa? Que ya no puedo ver los logos y no acordarme el man de los 400.
Their latest creation combines cutting-edge technologies with offensive and defensive systems more suited to a Viking longship than a rally car.
Ese auto de
Max is constructed of Danish elm, whalebone, and wrought iron. And if you happen to get too close to these drivers, look out! These glorium-infused gladiator devices will rip through your undercarriage in a flash, leaving you stranded in the desert as Thorazine strives for Valhalla! A throwback to days of old, there's no technical name for Thorazine's beehive thrower. More than a few drivers have scoffed at the device, only to return to the pit stung by defeat. And stashed beneath the vessel, the hammer of the gods. If their drivers can manage to get above you, it'll take a lot more than prayer to Odin to get you to the finish line. Behold Thorazine! No track is more majestic or feared than the granddaddy of them all, the legendary Grand Prix Coliseum in downtown Cosmopolis. The track is tweaked every year to keep ahead of evolving technologies, and it shows. Ask two-time Grand Prix winner and three-time world champion Jack Cannonball Taylor how easy it was to win the race once, let alone twice. The track uses advanced resin to support the cars.
Esto me diga que estos mentos se fueron a trabajar a Hot Wheels después, weón.
Scarcely imagined even a few years ago.
Te apuesto, weón, se fueron todos a trabajar a Hot Wheels, weón.
This is a whole other ball game. But that's what fans of the WRL have come to expect from their drivers. Little is officially known about Racer X, but when the masked vigilante recently modified his classic Shooting Star Roadster for T180 competition, our crew reverse-engineered the car for an exclusive analysis. Here's what we found. Racer X drives a car unlike any other, probably built in conjunction with the tight-lipped CIB and his companion, the brilliant chemist and theoretical physicist Minx. The Shooting Star employs a next-gen Godelian survival cell grafted to an N-Cooler DX porting sequencer. Oh my! And where opponents go for bulk, Racer X prefers a stripped-down approach. Every part down to the lug screws is composite core, light as a feather. And forget cumbersome mufflers, this baby is loud and proud. The Dragster Drive computer doesn't waste time regulating and distributing. It just pushes the Apache block to an MPS unachievable in a heavier ride. The interoptic analysis metering puts the wheels in direct contact with an optimized fuel cell multiplexer. Or at least that's what we think it is. Royalton Industries, titan of the sport and creator of some of the most revolutionary automotive concepts since the wheel. their crown jewel, the most technologically advanced car ever built, the fearsome GRX.
Esto debería acabar que lo sacaran en Hot Wheels.
And it all begins with the Royalton Industries interpositive transponder. Cast of materials mined from the lunar surface, the longitudinally mounted transponder renders positive displacement superchargers obsolete. The wheel wells feature a totally redesigned joint system you'd be better off calling T360. Jiangxi exhaust billows independently recycle excess thermal energy, which, when combined with 24 ground effect channels carved into a single forged body system, puts a car on the road that might be better suited for space travel. Welcome to the engine of the future. Nothing could be further from the silicon precision of the GRX than a car built entirely by hand, by a carchitect and team synonymous with independence. That's Pops Racer and his family unit, Racer Motors, and their staple thoroughbred, the Mach 5. The Mach's curvilinear body is legendary in racing circles. At once a classic and a form of the future. His jump jacks are controlled with independent exothermic gearing linked to a system of buttons on the steering wheel. These servos also control the car's defensive features, like a reticulating jousting dish.
Bueno, el que haya visto Speed Racer sabe lo que hace el auto, güey.
Titanium saw blades mounted beneath the car's trident boom buzz through anything in the Mach's way. And bulletproof hydrodynamic cockpit glass is accessible in case of rough weather or rough competition. Grind-lock tire crampons enable the car to climb inclines of up to 110 degrees.
O sea, mi hermano era el que se sabía de memoria qué hacía cada tecla del... Oh, weón, me acordé de esa weón. Mi hermano se sabía de memoria qué hacía cada botón del volante, weón.
Destined for greatness. The Mach has the whole package, but its traditional wheelbase disqualifies it from the T180 tracks that have come to dominate the circuit. And that leaves the crown jewel of custom cars, the latest addition to the Racer Motors' long list of amazing hand-built rides, the Mach 6. Rumor has it the family blasted this car out in a mind-boggling 32 hours, concept to car. How did they do it? What did they put in it? Lots and lots of love, and a few pretty cool features. First up and most important, transponder or PDE. For Pops Racer, neither. He powers his new Mach with a single forged Bernoulli conversion.
Power Racers.
And Racer takes an entirely new approach to the suspension, using components derived from biological sources to achieve a degree of flexibility not found in factory-built wheels. Racer's jacks may look standard, but these babies use case-hardened dampeners to push young Racer up, 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 and over the competition. The whole package sits atop a hand-welded nitronium cage with octavalve fasteners and an outer shell reinforced with submolecular metallitizers. Hey there, Speed. What you waiting for? Go, go, go! What builds a winner in the WRL? Bioengineered precision? Hand-tooled craft? Ingenuity? Elbow grease? Or all of the above? One thing's for sure, if you want to stand in the winner's circle, your ride had better be supercharged.
No, buenísimo, weón. El cómo se hace, weón, el cómo... Bueno, ustedes vieron conmigo cómo hacían cada puto diseño de tiene que ser todo ergonométrico, tiene que ser todo funcional. Es como, weón, es literalmente inventar un auto de cero. Y que sea funcional, loco. Que es lo más demencial de todo. Tuvo que haber habido mucho ingeniero mecánico metido en la realización y a lo mejor no lo mencionaron. Porque es increíble la cantidad de ingeniería automotriz que hay involucrada en el tema, además de los efectos especiales. Entonces ya es una película que por sí sale ganando, pues, bueno. Pero Speed Racer, véanla, ahí me comparten si les gusta. Yo voy a hacer una pequeña pausa, pero vamos a estar jugando, vamos a ver si corre, weón. Pero vamos a cambiar ya la etiqueta para poner este nuevo jueguillo que se me olvidó para variar el nombre. Y vamos a probar esta cosa. Vamos a probar juego. Así es, vamos a probar juego. Entonces, casi me mando la cagada del siglo, weón. A ver. No, la cagada del siglo ya yo me la mandé, pero... Vamos a ver, Hi-Fi Rush. Este juego, esta apuesta, está gratis en el Game Pass, así que los que tengan Game Pass, aprovechen, vayan ya. Esto funciona para PC, para, bueno, ustedes cachan cómo es el asunto del Game Pass, pues, ¿con qué les voy a estar explicando yo a esta altura? Pues, pero tenemos, a ver, me está haciendo la comprobación de que yo soy yo, de que no soy ningún alien, de que no... Acceso de... sí. Arre. Después me va a preguntar si yo soy yo. Si no soy un robot. No, si es un... No sé, es un robot. El escenario es este, caballeros. Hi-Fi Rush. Pero de minuto vamos a ir viendo como el tema. Mientras tengo el mundo, tengo mi plan de conquista mundial lo están viendo precisamente ahora. Entonces estoy en un búnker donde funciona se imaginan la media voladita, weón. Pero a ver, dejen. Este teclado, weón, es hermoso, weón. Teclado. Puta, el teclado me tinca caro y bonito y caro. Es un teclado que no es mío, me lo prestaron de mierda. Pero vamos a ver cómo es esto de Hi-Fi Rush. Pero mientras, a ver. Pero mientras. Que está haciendo una sincronización media loca. Vamos a ver en qué resulta esto, porque tengo entendido que es un hack and slash, medio como cartoon, mezclado como con otra, medio como tipo Devil May Cry, no sé. Mira, no he escuchado malas críticas del juego, así que vamos a ver qué pasa si es que parte el día de hoy. Ese es el tema, tiene que partir. Y se escucha una sirena de algo. Pero por mientras vamos a poner airecito porque si no voy a morir asfixiados. Porque puta que hace calor, weón. A ver, ¿qué podríamos hacer mientras sincronizamos esto? Hagamos un corte musical, yo creo. Su pequeño corte musical. Para que esto funcione de manera correcta. Pincho de... No puedo poner eso. No puedo poner esas cosas. No, tiene que ver rey. Un poquito más despacio la música y yo voy y vuelvo. Voy a buscar. Y vengo. ¿Me esperan un segundito? Ya, no te creo. ¿Qué onda? ¿Qué onda? A ver, a ver, a ver, a ver. A ver, a ver, a ver, a ver. ¿Qué está pasando acá? ¿Qué está pasando acá? ¿Qué está pasando acá? A ver, a ver, a ver. Aquí alguien me explique qué está pasando acá. Porque literalmente desde que me fui a hacer el café y hice el break y todo lo demás que ustedes probablemente están viendo en vivo, todavía no carga. Entonces no. What the fuck. No sé. ¿Necesitará más tiempo a lo mejor? ¿O algún requerimiento que yo no sé? Mi no entender. Mi no cachar ni wares. O en una de esas, lo dejamos ahí y nos tiramos Fortnite o una cosa así. Porque donde estoy es mejor el internet de acá que el de la que el del lugar principal, pero qué raro. Y de hecho sincronizando datos y todo el tema, pero como que como que está ahí, como que espérame que ya la hago. Y bueno, entonces lo dejamos ahí. Vamos a intentar otra cosa. Mientras. Está, igual es raro que no pesque, pero por mientras nos vamos a tirar unas fornateadas. Es pesado el tecladito, pero bueno, ya, vamos. Pasamos modo. Después del ranazo de Hi-Fi Rush. Pasamos a la vieja y confiable, como dicen por ahí. Vamos allá. Está. Perfecto. Allá vamos, allá vamos. Bueno, si parte el hi-fi lo ponemos, si no tengo problema. Lo que pasa es que me dejó cachudo el uy, me estaba apoyando y me iba a pasar cagando, weón. Que la de que ustedes no puedan ver el reverso, está muy divertido el tema de la figura y todo. Ya, parece que como que por acá la cosa está pescando. No. Oh. Estoy aprendiendo. Working on it. Working on it. Bien. Era otro el movimiento. Como que me quedó frío el café. Y Hi-Fi Rush ahí continúa dándola cachars. Esta cosa va a quedar ahí sincronizando, no sé qué diablo, pues. ¿Sincronizando qué? ¿Sincronizando qué, maldición? Y esto de acá. Temperatura decente. Sí, estamos chequeando. Esta cosa que debe estar costando, así que vamos a sacarlo. Eso. Qué peligro. ¿Qué pusieron, no? Oh, está bueno. Samuráis. Solamente porque me gustan los cactus, jugaría. El otro ya es como. Más de lo mismo. ¿Vos? ¿Yo no puedo comprar lista? ¿En serio? Perfecto, Qué raro, ¿por qué no me dejará? Help me pursue this offer código. Ups, va, no me deja comprar el. Eso sí, tú, rarísimo. ¿Y ahora? ¿No? Qué loco. Esto evidentemente espero que no tenga alguna incidencia, cosa que no creo, pero... Vámonos. Vámonos. Du hast mich. Después vamos a intentar de nuevo con el Hi-Fi Rush. Le tengo fe a esa vez. Tengo mucha fe. Hi-Fi Rush. Bien, llegamos por lo menos. ¿De qué anda la cosa grande? Este dedo lo tengo medio guaneado, weón. Guaneado, se me pegó esa weá del peligro, weón. Se la escuché una vez y fue así como, no, guaneado. Guaneado es cuando estáis medio así como neteado, weón. Estáis medio... ¿Se entiende? I hope so. Animatrix, weón. Sé que lo voy a bajar, weón. Pero guau. Concentración. Y además vamos a jugar un par de partidas, nada muy grosero. ¿Sí? Mañana hay que moverse tempranito. Bueno, de hecho ya no es temprano, pero De hecho, hoy día es... Dale, loco, dale. O vamos a estar igual que en la casa. Pues esa es la idea. ¡Pum! Error. Capaz que el internet sea el que está medio... Ah, no, acá vamos. Ya, para cagar, pero vamos. Opa. Tengo más lag que la concha de la madre, weón. Los videojuegos no hacen a la gente violenta, lo que hace a la gente violenta es el lag. ¡Qué asco! Pero qué asco, no puedo... ¡Ah! ¡Abre! Ya, pues weón. Estás viendo bajo internet. ¡Abre! ¡Deploy! ¡Deploy! A lo mejor por eso no... Minuto vamos perfecto. I guess not. ¿Te lo cuenta como cacería de animal? Ah, no. con vigía, ¿no? No. Eso. Aunque sea malo, pero necesitamos un plan. Veamos si funciona eso. Ah, no voy a alcanzar, bueno. No, no alcancé. Me voy a agarrar la tormenta de esta vez. Aunque sea más poderosa, pero no. Thank you. Good to go. Pero me cago en todo. Pero weón. No te la quedes ahora, por la puta madre. Cagué. Me cagó, me la hizo muy bien, güey. Me la hizo muy, muy bien. No, buenísimo, güey. Buenísimo, de calidad. Un progreso, un avance. No, pero sé que bastante bien. El que me dejó cachú fue el Hi-Fi Rush. Ese. Mira, si no lo probamos acá, lo vamos a probar mañana o pasado en la oficina donde corresponde, porque no sé qué habrá pasado ahí. Habrá que pegarse una actualizada o no sé. O lisa y llanamente el tarrito no lo lee nomás. Hay que ser realista en algunos casos. Así que chicos, yo espero que les haya gustado el capítulo de hoy. A mí me agradó bastante porque no cachaba todo lo que vimos hoy día. ¿Y cuánto se llama? Ah, espérate, que lo podemos poner. Aquí está. No tenía idea de todo lo que vimos hoy día de Speed Racer, de cómo era la ingeniería de los autos. O sea, yo esperaba algo como más o menos cabezón frente a este tema. Pero nunca esperé así este nivel de diseño de pistas, diseño de personajes incluso, diseño de todo, básicamente. Entonces, qué bueno que hayamos visto juntos ese documental o especial o como lo quieran llamar, pero así nos acercamos cada vez más a entender el séptimo arte y la magia de las películas. La magia de las películas. Así que chicos, por mi parte ha sido todo por hoy. Espero que estén muy bien. Mi nombre es Redex y nos vemos la próxima vez. Bye.